Everyone is a bad guy, but some are slightly less bad guys.
Isn't that just Warhammer in a nutshell? Hi guys, as you can see, I really like the Do or Don't series by PancreasNoWork, so next up we're gonna watch the one about Necrons. And I also want to watch the one about Tyranids at some point too. Let's go!
In the past of almost every fantasy or sci-fi setting, there's always some sort of ancient precursor civilization. A culture that set the stage for everything that was to come, and indirectly or directly guided the civilizations of the modern day to their current form. This video is not about those guys. This video is about the stone-cold bastards that murdered the precursors for being dicks and then woke up millions of years later to do it to everyone else. A faction of androids hell-bent on conquering, enslaving, and murdering the lesser races of the galaxy that dare to trespass on their property. Which is everything. Do you like robots wielding enough firepower to make Sarah Connor cry? Because if so, then this is the army for you.
Yeah.
65 million years ago, there lived the Necrons, and boy did their lives suck. Short and brutal because they lived on one of those planets in Stellaris with nothing but negative modifiers.
Damn.
So they asked the old ones for help with becoming immortal, or at least not having their body mass be 50% cancer cells. And the old ones' response? Suck a fat one, Necrons. Real nice guys, those old ones. In response, the Necrons created gods called the Catan out of space dust they found floating around. And those Catan proceeded to semi-unwillingly turn them into soulless Egyptian space terminators, and then they murdered the old ones. After that, the Catan decided to eat each other for more power because a clown told them to. As revenge for devouring all of their souls, the now renamed Necrons shattered their gods into tiny pieces. Unfortunately, it took a lot out of them to do this, and this was still at the point in the galactic timeline where the orcs were the size of parking garages, and the Elder could politely ask Cain if he wouldn't mind leading that massive Necron army over there. So they took a nap for 65 million years.
Right. So I did hear this story in the Bricky video. This one was just like condensed a little bit. But yes, I remember this roughly.
Now they're back, ready to reclaim the galaxy, maybe get their organic bodies back, and definitely beat the shit out of everyone in a 50,000 light-year radius.
So them waking up from that slumber is like, I guess, happening in the current Warhammer 40k lore. I guess the newest we're at, right? Trying to understand the timelines here.
For those of you not versed in astronomy, that's the galaxy, because the Necrons are going to win 40k and there's nothing you can do to stop it. There's of course, as always, plenty more, but for the background of the lore, that's what you need to know. So why go for the Tin Man's murderous extended family? If you want a faction that just screams ancient power, then more than anything, you want the Necrons.
I mean, he did say that they're just gonna win, so maybe that's why you should just get the Necrons, I don't know. You want to win, right?
Saying, hang on a minute, what about the orcs or the Eldar I sim for like a desperate high schooler trying to get laid for the first time? Or even the Imperium with all its stuff being thousands of years old? Well, first of all, look at the orcs. I understand they were technically around to fight the Necrons when the old ones created the Green Lads, but would you really call the shitbox one of them threw together in 5 minutes an ancient work of wonder? Yep.
Hey, the orcs are the most beautiful, most ancient, most work of the most wonder that I've ever seen, okay? I'll be an orc supporter till I die. Orcs are so fucking cool.
Me neither. And while the Eldar are just as old as Necrons, they don't have that ancient feeling the Necrons give off.
That's true. The Eldar, with their depravity and stuff, they're giving like young people partying vibes.
I look at the Eldar and I think Space Elf, which certainly carries connotations of being old, but not in the same way the ancient Egyptian mecha pyramid that unleashes sleeping Terminator zombies does. As for the Imperium, well, 6,000 years old is pretty old, but 65 million years old has that beat by a fair margin. But just because they're old as shit doesn't mean they're not gonna kick ass. Along with the orcs and Tyranids, if they weren't constantly shown to be losing, the Necrons are one of the most likely factions to win Warhammer if that would ever happen. I mean, come on, ancient technology more advanced than anything else, uncountable legions of incredibly strong, unyielding warriors, unsurpassed drip. I love my elves, but man.
Dude, the drip is good, I gotta say. They got that whole green theme going on, and it looks fucking amazing.
The Necrons are sitting pretty. Oh, and they can shut down chaos, too. Sure, the pylons on Cadia got destroyed, but unlike other factions, they can build more of their cool stuff once the right people wake up. They made a Death Star once. They have something that can destroy any star in the galaxy at the touch of a fingertip. Sure, they don't use it because it might trigger a cascade of supernovas galaxy-wide, but imagine if they started losing. Sure, it would be a shame if someone's robotic finger slipped on the button that destroys the solar system and cooks the Emperor. Now, what's a great way to describe how fighting the Necrons goes?
I can't die, it is impossible!
That about sums it up. up. When a Necron dies, it usually doesn't. Sometimes they just stand right back up after they get filled with lead. Sometimes they just teleport away. Sometimes they self-destruct, but the thing is, their self-destruction looks just like they're teleporting. So in the lore, no one can ever say for certain if they've truly been destroyed, and on the tabletop, if you lose, you can just say, nuh-uh, they all teleported away.
I think that does sound a little bit OP. There's gotta be something to nerf them here.
I didn't know they didn't. There's also untold billions of Necrons in the galaxy, so you're not exactly short on numbers to throw at the enemy. They're just taking a nap is all, waiting for a tech priest to come diddle the wrong piece of tech and wake them up. As for, in my opinion, one of the biggest pros, they're the only faction that's 100% no bullshit robots. Not even the Mechanicus is that, because they have to at least have a little bit of an arm or a brain in their bodies to say it isn't tech heresy. But the Necrons, straight up alien robots. And they look robotic too, as opposed to some of the Mechanicus stuff that looks like Leonardo da Vinci got bored and started doodling in his notebook when he was painting a church ceiling. And
True! Also, didn't the Necrons used to have souls? Well, yeah, that's what he said at the beginning, right? They used to be people, but then they were essentially made into robots. And I think only like a couple of them were able to keep their sanity or their memories or something like that. And all the other ones basically lost their souls. Maybe I'm also mistaking the being able to keep them with another faction too.
speaking of being robotic, they've got the most advanced tech in the setting. You know what? I'm just saying it. I don't care about little Timmy the Imperium fanboy's insistence that the Dark Age of technology totally had better stuff than the Necrons, guys. The Necrons have the best tech, everyone else is lagging behind. I mean, their quote-unquote gods are beings inherently connected to the physical laws of reality. How could they not have the best tech? So if high-tech robots are your thing, you want the Necrons. It's as simple as that. And
I think they're pretty neat. But I like orcs a little bit more because they're more meme and fun. Like high-tech robots, it feels a little sweaty. It feels like if you play Necrons, maybe you just really want to win. Well, I don't know how easy it is to play them actually, but, you know.
Despite all being killer robots, they still got a lot of variation in their lore. The dynasties of the Necrons can have some pretty varied motivations. Do forgive me while I try and pronounce these names. You've got the Empire of the Severed, Necrons whose programming got a bit fucky-wucky from radiation, and now they all fall under the command of the Tomb World's main AI to enslave and kill the living. You've got the Sarnath dynasty, who are a bunch of pirate space robots, which, god, that's fucking cool.
That's cool.
You've got the classic Proud Warrior guys with the Novak dynasty, and their special characters are just as varied as the dynasties are. There's Trazen the Infinite, who just wants to make a really big museum filled with living dioramas from across time and space. Nemesis Zandrik is a schizophrenic Monty Python character in space who's just determined to have fun with his new status as a mortal soulless robot. Good for him, I say. And who could forget good old Illuminator Saras, the robot who seeks to become God by performing live vivisections on people he kidnaps. No.
Sick design, by the way. I will say their designs is the thing that's like convincing me most to enjoy them currently. Their story is cool, and it's cool that they're super strong, but I need some soul to connect to, and I guess they actually just canonically don't have that. Maybe that's why I like the orcs so much, because they're just fun, you know?
Oh, I don't understand how that's supposed to work, and to be honest with you, I don't think he does either. So all in all, a lot of variety. And if none of that works for you, just make your own one up. Say your dynasty was in an isolated sector of the galaxy and only just woke up, and presto, unlimited room to make whatever homebrew lore you want. Relatedly, they can be as evil or as good as you want them to be. The Silent King supposedly respects Sanguinius and is mainly focused on killing the Tyranids. It may only be because the Necrons can't transplant themselves back into flesh and blood bodies if everyone gets Vord, but that's still pretty good by 40k standards. Meanwhile, the average Necron warrior unflinchingly murders children because they're not Necrons. See, plenty of options for you to choose from on the 40k morality spectrum. Everyone is a bad guy, but some are slightly less bad guys. Funny enough, the Necrons are
Isn't that just Warhammer in a nutshell?
the most likely faction to save the galaxy from chaos. They have no souls to feed the gods with, and their tech shuts down the warp. Humanity had to create a god just to have a chance, and the god proceeded to fuck it all up. The Necrons just flip the chaos be gone switch, and they're laughing as the demons scream, "That's not fair," before they get sucked back to hell where they belong.
So if they were to kill everyone in the entire, like, universe, chaos wouldn't be able to exist anymore? And everything that would still exist would be soulless robots. Worth a consideration in the Warhammer universe, honestly.
Models are also absolutely gorgeous. Sure, some like the Nightbringer shard look a little outdated, but
They're
he's
really
still looking
cool.
alright. And since 9th edition revamped a lot of the models and brought some new ones with it, I don't honestly think there's a single Necron model available to buy that looks bad. Some are resin, yeah, but most are plastic, and overall they look exactly like they should.
So, Warhammer players, why is resin worse than plastic? Is it like harder to paint or something? Like, why do people dislike it?
Don't have anything funny to say here, they just look good. If the model's name ends with Mancer, it's gonna look especially cool.
That's
Finally,
that was like a squid guy. Damn.
Necrons are by far the easiest army to paint, at least in my opinion. Sorry, Space Marines, even easier than you. You know when you need to paint them? You need 4 paints. Some primer, a metallic color, a wash like known oil, and green. That's it. If you want, you can substitute green for another color that looks suitably like an LED light bulb. If you really want to get into it, add some black or gray to the weapon so it isn't all metal. Just use those colors and congratulations, your Necron army is decently painted. Now how about the rules? What's in their favor? First off, reanimation protocols. How can I describe them?
I can't die, it is impossible.
I'll use that joke as often as I want, thank you very much. Long story short, when you take casualties, you roll some dice equal to the amount of wounds that the units you lost had. When you roll a 5 or a 6 on a die, it's now a valid die. Take all your valid dice when you're done rolling. That many wounds worth of models are getting back up and giving your enemy the finger. So if you roll well, you can go from a squad of Necron warriors with 1 model left to a squad of Necron warriors with all but 1 model still left. And maybe your elites take a bit of a pounding as well. Well, at least a few of them are going to be standing back up too. See you in hell, everybody else. Sure, for the most part, it's only on a 5 or a 6 they're coming back, but it's a free way to undo casualties. What's there to complain about?
True.
My free revive option isn't 100% reliable. Fuck you, no one else has that just because. Second, Necron units are basically unroutable, with leadership 10 across the board. For reference, Primaris Space Marines generally have a leadership of 7, with sometimes up to 9 for the real big boys like captains. Yeah, they shall know no fear my ass. So while in theory you can still take casualties for morale penalties, in practice, yeah, the robots aren't going to be going anywhere. Reanimation protocols don't work on units lost from morale penalties, unfortunately, but again, you likely won't be taking huge losses from this.
I am pretending that I'm totally understanding all this lore stuff. Either way, it's kind of interesting to learn about. But I think this part of the video is honestly better if you actually know how the tabletop game works. Look, I just want to know with these videos if I can root for them or not. Like, if I were to potentially pick up the game or figurines, like, would it make sense in terms of, like, them being, like, a cool part of the story? I think they're a pretty cool part of the story, but the soullessness is throwing me out. But the figures look really, really good.
Necron units are also generally very hard to kill as well. Even ignoring reanimation protocols, Necron units are still pretty tough nuts to crack. They're reasonably powerful, same toughness as Space Marines if not higher, and honestly, in terms of cost efficiency, are probably the best troops in the game period. At least when it comes to their durability, anyway. If all you want from your army is something that'll stay on the board and stubbornly refuse to die, then they're in the perfect sweet spot between cheap and effective. They're not—
I mean, that would be great for a beginner player, right? Because I don't know how to keep them alive. Oh my god, I'm speaking like I'm gonna play it. No, my wallet doesn't want to. My wallet doesn't want it.
as cheap as the humble guardsmen, of course, but they're infinitely more powerful. On the other end of the spectrum, they're not quite as strong as Space Marines, but they're also cheaper. Also, did you know they kind of have magic? It's weird, but Necrons do indeed have wizard units called cryptics. Wizard-like, anyway. Essentially, they use super advanced tech that's indistinguishable from magic to do their funky shit. They come in several different flavors for their not magic, depending on your wants and needs. I believe they do their thing in the movement phase, if I'm not mistaken, and if I am mistaken, then undoubtedly someone will let me know in the comments.
Hi guys, if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you!
They've got command protocols as well, which are cool. Basically, they're buffs that you pick the order you want them to go in, and then as each turn passes, you activate another one. Assuming you aren't gimped immediately into the match, the Necrons actually can get stronger as the game progresses, though with some caveats I'll get into. I mean, I guess if half your army's wiped out turn 1, including your warlord, they're not that helpful, but in that case, not receiving a buff to your movement speed is far from the biggest of your worries. Normally, you can't change the order they activate in, but if you use the Silent King, once a battle, you can switch on one you prefer instead of the one that was slotted to go first. The Necrons are also solid in both melee and shooting phases. A wall of Necron warriors is going to melt things in front of them if you pick your targets right. And as for melee, I mean, look at the Scorpec destroyers. Would you want to be anywhere near one of these things? I sure as hell don't.
No.
Lastly, as with all Warhammer armies that are undead in one way or another, when you properly use your character units, your mainline troops are getting buffed to high hell. For making reanimation protocols easier to buffing their movement, Necron leaders can turn an already scary force into a goddamn nightmare. Have you ever seen a unit of 20 Necron warriors get brought down to 5 in a single go? Only to bounce back right to 15 warriors because some dickhead held a magic orb near them to let them phone life alert to pick them back up. That's the kind of shit real life leadership checks are made out of. But for their cons, they have plenty to match the pros.
Okay, yeah. So that's the interesting part, because so far they sounded really strong, almost unbeatable, because like they're hard to kill and then they just get back up, you know?
Necrons are kind of the ultimate proof that GW will switch around decades of lore at the drop of a hat. Did
Oh,
you know
no.
the Necrons were originally Chaos Androids? Isn't that fucking funny to hear about nowadays? Cadia would have turned out a lot differently if that was the case. Would have blown the hell up a lot sooner. But beyond that, they went from being soulless, personality-less androids to being Tomb Kings in space. Now personally, I like the changes because it gives more room for the Necrons to have actual character-driven stories. A mindless robot isn't exactly something I'm gonna give a shit about, I gotta be honest with you.
That's
if you like
true.
the old Necrons, well, you're probably still bitching about the changes, and even if you didn't like them, be aware that GW can change everything you like about them as it suits them. This goes for every faction of the game, of course, but the Necrons seem particularly vulnerable to it.
Damn.
You may wake up one day and find out that Trazen is just metal Sly Cooper. As for in-universe flaws, well, the Necrons certainly aren't a small force and have the backing of all of their old tech, unlike literally everyone else. Believe it or not, the amount of them in the galaxy is very much finite. They don't make more of themselves,
really?
so everyone destroyed is another permanent loss, double for their Catan shards.
Oh, okay, I see. I thought they really had the power to wipe out everything, but if one of them is like definitely destroyed, which doesn't happen that often, but still, they can't just replenish. Interesting. Okay.
Granted, destroying one of them is damn near impossible, but if it does somehow blow up, that's a permanent loss. Something to keep in mind about the Necrons if you imagine them as complete Terminators in space. There's no Necron factory making them anywhere. Now, this one might just be a weird personal preference of mine, but when I get into a fictional universe, I like to imagine that everyone has a soul, even if that sort of thing isn't explicitly a part of the setting. I'm not getting into theology here, so please keep your Reddit atheism to yourself. It's just nice to think that the characters I get attached to have a happy ending even in death. Now, with that in mind, 40k is a setting where the afterlife explicitly exists. Granted, usually sucks balls for most people, but it is a thing. But the Necrons don't have souls. Nothing. Nada. Zip. When one of them goes kaput, that's it. Nothing after death but sweet, sweet nothing. Arguably, given what the Necrons go through, many of their leaders desperately miss the days of being flesh and blood, this is a positive. But if you like to imagine that your guys get to go to the great PC hard drive in the sky after their death, or even the purgatory of an Eldar Soulstone, then I'm sorry, but there's nothing for you here with the Necrons.
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. Like, they're really cool in theory, but I just find it hard to connect to them, I guess, on the emotional level. Because on the emotional level for the orcs, I just find them incredibly entertaining. I find them fun and enjoyable. But for these guys, I'm like, man, they're just like dead inside. They're just robots, you know? Like, are they even sentient at that point, or are they just programmed if they don't even have a soul, right? They're just a robot.
The average Necron also has zero personality. Again, nothing, not a zip, you get the idea. So if you like to imagine that each of your models has something going on in their lives beyond becoming a casualty in your wargame, you are once again out of luck. Only the Tyranids have less individual personality than you, and yes, I'm including the orcs in this who all love the same things, fighting and winning. At least individual greenskin wants something in their life, even if that something is always just more fighting, more winning, and more things to fight and win with. They also have defeat as part of their backstory, which is kinda lame. And by defeat, I don't mean a massive cataclysm like the Eldar giving birth to Slaanesh or mankind losing other technology. They lost the war in heaven. You can argue whose fault it was, but at the end of the day, they had to go to bed for millions of years, and the Eldar got to have so much kinky sex they created a god of it. So yeah, defeat is inherently part of the Necrons. Also, sometimes they wake up with robotic dementia, because as it turns out, even super advanced computers degrade after several thousand millennia of zero.
Well, yeah. What I wanted to say was, yes, defeat is part of their story, but I think usually if there is defeat in the story, that's actually a good thing, because it gives the character a chance to grow past it and start anew and still be able to reach their goals. That being said, that usually works if the character has a soul and ambition. And I'm not really quite sure about these guys.
Maintenance. What other nitpicks do I have for their non-rule stuff? Ah yes, if you don't like metal colors, you don't like the Necrons. You see all this? All of this is metal. The models themselves are very distinct and creative, but the coloration for them,
that's fine.
Not so much.
Color is
you can vary
fine.
it up a bit with some rust and different glowy colors, but at the end of the day, all these guys are going to look like they just marched out of the same Toyota dealership ready to kill. I also think they're about middle of the pack price-wise. Certainly not the cheapest ones on the block for what you need to make a comprehensive army, but they aren't like the Guard of the Tyranids where you need to put off a mortgage payment to own one of these guys. So you'll be spending a fair amount of money in the
When I watch the Tyranid video, is the con gonna be that they're freaking expensive? They're so interesting, though. Gosh darn it!
Necrons, but it could be worse, I guess. And with that lukewarm point, here we go for the rules downsides. The Necrons are slow. Buffing their movement with command protocols and leader ores only helps so much.
I figured that they would be either slow or deal low damage, because you kind of need to make up for their other buffs, right?
best, you're getting brought up to everyone else's average movement speed, and if anything happens to the thing buffing your army, you're going to go right back to moving at a snail's pace. The Necrons may be a wall of death and destruction, but the funny thing about walls is that they generally don't move very fast. The Necrons as of late have also had some trouble dealing damage against either armored targets or ones with a lot of wounds, and with the Armor of Contempt thing that got added, it only got worse. They used to cut through armor like it was rotten butter, now they have some issues. You aren't completely defenseless against it, so don't have a panic attack the moment someone sets down a Lehman Russ onto the game board, but be aware that you may have a bit of difficulty cutting it down. As an undead army, well, like I said, their leaders buff the shit out of their units and in general are very good for what you pay for them. The problem here is that if your hero characters die, your army is going to shit. It's even worse than usual for the Necrons because command protocols need a model with the noble keyword to be in charge and alive for them to actually happen. If that model dies, you don't get buffs anymore. Turns out an army of 99% mindless drones can't do much thinking on their own. What a shocker.
Damn.
Speaking of, command protocols just aren't that good. They're certainly helpful and they don't hurt you, but they aren't exactly stealing the show away from other faction special abilities. Adding a little bit of armor penetration if you roll a 6 is nice, but I'm not exactly gushing cum out of every hole I have over it.
So control protocols are like, just special attacks that they can have. I assume it's when you roll the die, because that's kind of what he just said.
Centerpiece units also aren't as great as you might think they are. Now, don't get me wrong. Anyone who doesn't have a plan and the ability to defeat a Catan shard is going to get their shit pushed so far up their asshole it'll be coming out of their mouth. But the thing is, just about every army in the game has something that's able to deal with that shard, even if it's just running away from it because they're faster than it is. I'm not an expert at balancing by any means, but even to my limited knowledge, it seems like the Necron heavy hitters either need a stat increase or a price decrease to make them
Is the shard the character on the left? Is that what they are?
truly shine. Again, they aren't bad, just not as good as you might hope for what you're paying for them. Lastly, while you do technically have magic powers, that's exactly what they are. Technically magic. You don't have any actual magic. Your psychic phase is essentially going to involve hoping your enemy rolls perils at the warp, and if they don't, hoping that the magic missile they send your way rolls poorly for damage. Turns out, the Elder didn't win the war in heaven by asking the Necrons for a timeout. They won it by waving their hands and turning the Necrons into frogs and other elf shit. And there you go, more or less the essentials for the Necrons to decide if you want to go for them or not. One less positive to end on, however, is that the Necrons have probably the best non-Imperium books in the game. I'm adding this at the end instead of near the beginning because there's a lot I didn't cover for the Necrons that more than any other faction I think deserves attention. The Infinite of the Divine, Twice Dead King. The Necrons have a lot of interesting lore that really can't be done justice in a single video. So
I actually started reading one of the Warhammer books on my flight to Japan, or should I say back from Japan, because that's when I really started it. It's the Kingmaker one, but I'm not that far in yet. Like, I really started on the flight back and then I slept for the rest of the flight, so I read only a little bit, but it was not bad, honestly, and I look forward to hopefully continuing it pretty soon once I get some editing stuff out of the way and can relax a bit. That would be really nice to continue that book. Let's go.
If you don't end up purchasing a Necron army, grab some of their books.
Hell yeah.
You won't regret it. Thank you, of course, to my channel members. You are the reanimation protocols to my Necron warrior unit, ensuring I always come back to live another day. Consider becoming one or subscribing, because I want to reach the funny number and then get the funny silver plaque, though perhaps I'm a little bit too hopeful on that second one. Thank you for
Go follow PancreasNoWork if you haven't yet.
Okay, now this is completely unrelated to anything about the Necrons, but here's a scenario for you. You're in the climax of some novel or movie or whatever, and your arch nemesis / rival / ex-lover or whatever, and you are about to throw down. Their theme song starts playing. What song do you not want to hear?
Their theme song? Which one do I not want to hear? I would want them to be lame, so I don't want to hear anything cool. So, you know, nothing metal. Metal's pretty cool. Nothing rock. I feel like classical music can be cool for a villain entrance, so not that either. I think what I would want to hear would be some sort of children's music or pop music, but then some pop music does sound pretty cool, so it would have to be like a very specific kind of it.
Personally, I'm going to say I don't want to hear Holding Out for a Hero, because not only am I about to get my ass kicked, I'm not even the good guy in this scenario now. Also, you are now thinking of the Shrek 2 finale.
Damn right I am. You got me. Well, I think after this video, I don't dislike the Necrons, but in terms of wanting to use them in Warhammer, if I were a Warhammer player, they're still below the orcs. I don't think I've watched that many other do or don't yet. I did watch the ogre video, but I don't think the ogres are in Warhammer 40k, right? They're in the fantasy version of it, so they don't really apply here. So I'm just gonna have to watch more of these videos to figure out a ranking. But so far, orcs are still on top for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.